Welcome to the Tradier Rundown. I am Jim Urio. That's Bob Iacino. We together are the host of Tradier's The Trader's Edge, which plays live at 3 p.m. I was going so smoothly until all of a sudden I started choking it all down. I actually sounded like a real media person for a second, which appears live at 3 p.m. on Wednesdays, Chicago time. Bobby, how are you?
Good. How are you, Jimmy?
Good. Now, the rundown today is about the soft commodities. Now, you and I have spent our lives trading hard commodities like gold and crude and, things like financial futures. But I find the soft commodities to be an interesting topic. Corn has been absolutely pummeled. Wheat has been absolutely pummeled. Both cattle and hogs still doing pretty good. Cattle particularly is going through the roof. Thoughts?
Yeah, sugar was lower as well. Soybeans, kind of up and down. And I thought it was interesting. And maybe you could comment a little bit on some of the chart things you've been looking at. But when I looked at, we're speaking on the day that the inflation number just came out, hotter than expected. And if you see a reversal in the softs, that could really affect the CPI number. So for example, you look at food inflation in this report that we just got, pork was up 0.3%, milk down 1.6%, rice down 1.3%, coffee down 2.2%, butter down 0.5%, and chicken up 2%. And that kind of mirrors what we're seeing in the charts, is it not?
So, well, here's what's interesting about corn and wheat. And corn and wheat march to its, aside from crude, corn and wheat are some of the most important global commodities, right? Now, the thing is, when we were just breaking into the business 35 years ago, the old saying, like it must be raining on LaSalle Street, when all of a sudden the price of corn was getting hit, that's changed a lot. China's a huge producer. Brazil's a huge producer, which brings me to the next point, is that China and Brazil both are having unbelievably good years growing corn and growing wheat. And that should pressure the prices. And what we see on the charts is it has. Now, corn, the thing on the chart that I'm most interested in is the 400 level. It's a long-term level of support, and we're flirting around it right now. And on wheat, it's the same with the 550 level. I prefer to trade commodities that are more rate sensitive, more currency sensitive, but these are commodities that are good old-fashioned supply and demand, driven by that more so than anything else. What do you add to that?
No, we're starting to get toward the planting season as well. So also I'm talking about the softs, right? When you're talking about wheat and corn and soybeans. And, we just went through an El Nino. An El Nino generally makes the winter in the north milder and the weather in the south, where none of those things grow, wetter and colder. So it's part of the reason. The weather is obviously a huge factor, and especially comes into play in spring. When you're talking about some of the milder winters, you're not going to have a lot of moisture in the ground because you guys didn't have a lot of snow, but you also have early plants and some early harvest because of things like that. Also, you look at the meats, for example, you're talking about hogs, feeder cattle, live cattle. The demand on that has been growing, and the global community, let's say, to try and keep it non-political, is really against those types of food sources for humans, and those prices are rising.
We are not political, but we are very, very sensitive to policy. And the global policy towards red meat and towards cattle is absolutely absurd. And they're pushing prices higher seemingly on purpose. By the way, as an Italian American, are you insulted that we don't talk about olive crop and tomato crop anymore?
Yeah, I get pretty upset, especially about the olive crop. That affects me. Now, there are people who are wondering, there are ETFs in some of the softs. Cane, for example, tracks sugar. Corn tracks corn, shockingly enough. SOYB, guess what that?
I think I could guess that one.
You get that one. And WEAT tracks.
I can't think of what it could track. I got nothing.
But if you're talking about cattle and hogs, you have to be in the futures contract. You have to be at ICE or CME to get any exposure on those.
Before we close it out, when you see global policy towards cattle and towards consumption of red meat, do you think there's any reason to ever be short those things, or just be long and strong?
It's difficult. It's very, very difficult. And, when you look at it from that perspective, it's similar to trying to be short copper. When you've got sort of a big political movement going like that, you have to be really careful about taking positions contrary, similar to when we used to say, don't fight the Fed.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Similar situation to that.
Okay, I want to make one mental note how quickly Bobby knocked me off my olive thing. He's no nonsense today. He doesn't want any of my tomfoolery.
No BS today.
This is Tradier's Rundown. Join us 3 o'clock Wednesdays Central Time on Tradier's The Trader's Edge podcast. Thank you. I'm Jim Urio. That's Bob Iacino.
All opinions expressed by Tradier Hub contributors are solely the contributors' opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Tradier nor its affiliates and/or subsidiaries. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Hub contributors as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or to follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their opinion. The contributors' opinions are based on their own personal research, but neither Tradier nor its affiliates and/or subsidiaries warrants its completeness or accuracy, and it should not be relied upon as such. Any trades or positions discussed or referred to by contributors may or may not be actual live trades or positions. Such information is not intended to be financial or investment advice. Tradier Inc. is the parent company of Tradier Brokerage Inc. Tradier Brokerage Inc. and Tradier Inc. are separate entities with their own products and services. Securities products and services are offered through Tradier Brokerage Inc. Tradier Brokerage Inc. is an independent subsidiary of Tradier Inc., all rights reserved, member FINRA SIPC.